I'd like to call to order the meeting of March 6, 2018. Would you all please stand for the invocation of pledge allegiance to the flag?
Lord, we pray that you will give our council members the faith and courage to carry on their duties, help them to do right, to deal fairly with others, and to place their trust in you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Here.
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 Lucas?
Here.
Here. Noel?
Here.
Blakely?
Here.
Wood?
Here.
Banner? Here.
You'll receive the meeting minutes for February 20th, 2018. Any comments or questions on those? Not will stand as presented. First up this evening, anyone from the American Legion, post 290, if you'd like to come up. State your name for the record.
Jason Gregory, Commander of the Post. Richard Simpson, Finance Officer, post 290. Commander? First off, we've heard that you guys want to develop a canine program in Columbiana.
Yep.
And when the Post heard of that, they didn't hesitate to pull together some funds from the charitable funds. And it was a unanimous decision to donate to the program. We're super behind it. We're really glad they really benefit communities everywhere that have them. And we hope that you guys make out and do well.
Thank you.
If there's anything else we can do to help, we'll be happy.
I appreciate it.
Go.
Man, you deserve the credit right there.
Good luck. Thank you. I got to thinking today, is it possible that dog could help at the school?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Chief, don't send that.
They presented a check for $5,000. Thank you very much. April Brinker. April's here from the Chamber of Commerce to discuss July 4th, 2018 Community Day activities.
Well, I am here, like I said, at Parkour, selling some big shoes tonight as our chairman for the past 20-some years stepped down, Jack Guy. So I am here to request approval to move forward with the 4th of July community celebration. We did receive Park Board approval. We know the changes at Mirror Lake will be underway at that time, so obviously we are not planning to utilize any part of that. We'll forego that this year and hopefully have a bigger and better fishing tournament and canoe race next year. Really, we're tossing around a few ideas to fill some gaps in there. Just talked with Chief Garrity about getting the firemen involved in one way or another. Real firemen's competition. He mentioned like a little challenge that they did at a day they participated in. So we're still throwing around some ideas, but plans are coming together. So we would like their approval on it.
I'll make that motion. We approve the 4th of July activities for the city of Columbiana.
I'll second that.
Comment?
When is the rain day?
Saturday, July 7th.
Roll call.
Becker?
Yes.
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Blakely?
Yes.
Yes. Noel?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I do have a couple other things. I apologize. I forgot to ask for this to be on the agenda if it's okay. I wanted to just give you an update on Springtime in Columbiana and the First Friday event. I'll be real quick. Springtime in Columbiana is scheduled for May 4th through the 6th. We are not requesting to close the street at that weekend at all. We would ask, maybe coordinate with Chief on some crosswalk help that Saturday. There are all weekend, we have events going on. Recently learned co-branded, will be organizing vendors on the street for the event, so they're kicking off with that. Our First Friday events will continue, the first Friday of June, July, and August. We are requesting permission to again close the block from the Circle to Friend Street, just that one block. The first Friday, we're looking to do a car show again. That was very popular last year. We had a great response and great turnout. It was our biggest one at that point, so it went good. July, we're working with the R&B. We're working with Pat Tingle at this time. This is the 150th celebration of Harvey Firestone's birth. So we're looking to theme our July event as a Happy Birthday, Harvey. She is coordinating with the Firestone Foundation and trying to get some members of the family to come out for the 4th of July to see the park, see the people in the park, see what's going on at Mirror Lake, and then stay through Friday for the First Friday event. We're looking to have Tom Makel and Ken Rambo, and hopefully someone from the Firestone family give a presentation. So that's that. And then August, we are throwing around the idea of a hippie fest, having a Volkswagen car show, a vintage buy, probably a costume contest. So I guess I am asking for approval on the first Fridays and the closure of that one block from Main down to Friend Street.
Is the co-branded gonna be part of the First Friday?
No, they are not. I checked their website for this information as well. They are looking to do the 4th Saturday of each month, to do like a maker's, what I envision to be like a small flea market, similar to the Youngstown Flea is what I believe. But they have it advertised for the 4th Saturday. But they are advertising for this Saturday of springtime.
Chief, are we okay with all of that?
We're fine with, all the stuff that April mentioned, and the closure of the streets for that block is not an issue. I do have a call into folks with co-branded. I don't know exactly what their, plans are at this point. I know that, they mentioned on the voicemail they left me the 4th Saturday idea, but I don't know exactly what it entails yet. But all the stuff that she just mentioned, we're fine with. I would invite you to call me directly, and we can fill in some of the blanks, that we've done with Jack in the past, and, Kevin Foster is also available to you. Just give us a call.
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the council rule to, not consider business that hadn't been on the agenda, so that we can give this consideration.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Sauber,
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Liston,
Yes.
Love, yes. Noel,
Yes.
Becker,
Thank you for your enthusiasm, April. It's much appreciated. You're so bubbly and you bring a lot of good things on board, so, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve her request for the First Friday events and the, what was the other one that you were talking about? The springtime, yeah.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Roll call?
McBain,
Yes.
Liston,
Yes.
Love, yes. Noel,
Yes.
Becker,
Yes.
Sauber,
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I apologize for not getting that on there.
We'll move right into the manager's report.
So the water plant construction is really coming along. They've got the roof on, we've got the generator all hooked up. The ATS building that we've been talking about for the last few weeks is tied into the main control center for the plant. And as they move along inside to, complete the wiring, and they'll flip that breaker, but they have not at this point. Let's see, still working on the with the ODOT to finalize the selection of the prospective inspection engineers for Fairfield Avenue sidewalk. We should be doing that in the next couple of days, I would think. Then we'll be back to, council on the 20th to discuss a little bit more. Fire station bids were open on the 15th, February. Parent low bidder was Classical Construction. If you came in tonight, you had that letter, of clearance, I guess, from, Howes and Baird about Classical Construction. So we did put that, on the agenda tonight to, enter into a contract with them. I think I mentioned it last meeting, but, we're honored to, do a presentation for the Chamber of Commerce this, Friday at, their business luncheon. We're gonna be, giving them an, update. The mayor will be there, and also, Greg Allison, will also be there from, Mayor Tippet's office. The K-9 program's still getting much attention and momentum, so we're really happy about that, as you can see tonight. I did not put that stormwater workshop on. We thought we were gonna have the budget done already, so, if, you see fit, we will schedule that. If you wanna do it, next.
We do it next meeting.
Next meeting, okay.
I think it's important for us to go through the budget before we go through that
Yeah.
workshop.
Okay. Let's see, we attended a pre-con meeting at ODOT for the 714 intersection project. We should start seeing movement this week. They're gonna do it in phases. Each phase is gonna take about 6 weeks. I'm passing around just a kind of a sheet that shows which phases they're gonna do first. Jesse, from the street, and, John Rapp and I went. And that was, APO4 is gonna be out there, working on that soon. I'd say mid-March, they're gonna really be getting going, but, you'll get to see the, stakes and, survey stakes being put up, very soon. We attended a couple WSOS meetings. Street department, we patched, 24 tons, just said we got 24 tons of, patch down. They had made, 800 gallons of brine since the last meeting for, ice and snow. We did take, delivery of the 420 tons of salt. If you remember correctly, we did, obligate, to 500 tons, so we shouldn't have a problem meeting that. Water department, we've been attending, the weekly, job meeting, safety meeting. We have a couple of staff down in Columbus now getting contact hours. A couple of very pertinent to, some of the new EPA rules, that are coming up. We performed some hydrant testing for an upcoming mandated test. Chief Garrity and John Rapp working together. It's, every several years we do, it's called ISO testing, and that'll be March 20th. The initial test out at our, new water line really performed well. Got a lot more volume out of there than we ever had, so they'll be very happy with that. Completed the annual drinking water, CCR report, and that will be on the upcoming bills, I believe, and then we'll have a link to that directly required by the EPA, so you can read that. Various departments helped take down Christmas lights with wastewater did. During those rain events, we had to work very hard. The crews had to work very hard to get all that water through without violating permit. We did fill up the equalization basins several times, empty them, fill them, empty them, fill them, empty them, right just in time for the next rain to come. At one point, we were putting about 12 million gallons per day in there for several hours. Now, that wasn't the entire 24 24 hours, but definitely put some water in, but, very lucky. We had expanded those filters in the past, and, we're able to get that water through there, without, bypassing. Park and Cemetery, they're working on the pavilion number 4, the kitchen. We do have rentals coming up soon. They've been working on that, and that was part of that Joy of Christmas grant, that they're working on. Electric department, they've been attending, water plant meetings again, actually all along, fiber optic, meetings and generator. They did take down the Christmas lights. They had to, install 3 poles out near Dairy Queen, area. Gonna be removing, they're gonna be removing some old poles out there, for their service. And I believe they were, gonna be doing that in the next couple of weeks. The splicing contractor that we've been talking about will be coming in the week of the 12th to, finish up the water plant. And, did have an outage. There was a major storm that came in on the 2nd. We had crews. The crews were out pretty much all night, and, we wanna thank them. We had fire, electric and street out there. Our wires and OE wires, contacted each other, and they, created a short. They were pretty much out all night, and I believe the firemen had 6 calls that night, so, it was a long, long day. So, we appreciate their, work. The next, I don't have anything else other than, the discussion of the budget, so.
Let me ask you for, the, traffic flow for, 714 project, what do we have in place to help with, any backups and stuff that occurs on Fridays, Shakerwood events, things like that, because of all the construction that's going on?
So it's an ODOT project, so we will have very little to do that other than warn them, you know. So we did talk about, increased traffic. We have a superintendent from ODOT that will be out there. He's, very receptive to our talks. We did have a farmer came in, you know, was worried about if they can get a 16-foot equipment by, so we've got to call into them and make sure. But, we did tell them that, you know, it does get hairy out there, and, it is, when Dallas Dawson and Associates, they designed it, they had to use certain ODOT standards in order to make the project, legal, I guess. And, it's pretty complicated. They, actually increased, cost to the whole project that they call it MOT, the maintenance of traffic out there. So it is a big concern, and they know that, I mean, that's why they're there. They're upgrading an intersection that needs to be upgraded. So the other good thing that we have for us is AP Ohoro, they're from Youngstown, you know, so it's not like they're from, you know, Cleveland or something. They've worked in this town, and they know how important that intersection is. They've all been out there.
And there's our supervisor, is she gonna be on site the whole time?
She will be on site, I think she might have another project, but she's from this area, so she'll be on there most of the time. We will have a, if it's not her, we will have a certified ODOT inspector there that we don't, you know, we don't choose. Now, the Fairfield Avenue project is a local led project, we'll choose that, whereas we don't have the choice on this. But it will be a member of ODOT staff.
Yeah, as long as somebody there will support Tom.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Just one other thing, I heard that we recently will be, receiving some assistance from the state level on, our potholes, filling those up, and doing things. Have you heard anything from that yet?
No.
Okay. Just thought that might make you happy, Jesse.
It would, I haven't heard anything about that.
There was a punchline.
That sounds like a real bad joke.
Hey, I'm trying, it takes me time to gear up.
So like, you wanna run through some things and?
Yeah, first of all, we'll try to get through this as quickly as we can. I would suggest if you have any questions about that particular department or fund that we're going over at the time, please ask. At that time, we have the supervisors here with us tonight, except for Johnny Rapp, and Lance will have to fill in for Johnny. If we're going through a fund and you have a question, bring it up at that time, and then, so that we can talk about it. That first sheet is a recap sheet of 2018 budget, where our beginning balances are, the projected revenues, and projected expenses, and the ending balances. I gave you a similar report earlier before the meeting. Rick Noel asked me about prior years. So I did a little report showing the last 6 years of where we were in 2012 to where we are again in 2017. And as you can see, our balance, our overall, these are overall numbers. As a city as a whole, our overall numbers have increased by $3 million in our funds, and that's various funds. Okay, so we start with the general fund, which is our biggest revenue as far as the various types that we bring in. And on each of these funds, the top portion is the revenue, the bottom portion is, for the middle section, is salary and benefits, and then the bottom portion is our expenses. We get a lot of revenue that goes into the general fund from various resources, real estate taxes, kilowatt tax, local government funds, liquor permits. You can see they're all listed. The biggest thing that, fines, court fees, court fines, zoning permits, so on and so on. The biggest thing that I wanted to point out was I do have in there for the canine donations of $60,000. That's something new, as you can see. We didn't have anything like that the last 2 years. Everything else is pretty much normal revenues, and as you see on that one sheet I gave you, for the last, not counting 2017, because that was because of the water plant, the revenue we got in for the water plant. But the last 3 years have been very consistent, around $21 million a year that we bring in. But in the general fund, again, it's very consistent. The wages, you can see they're up a little bit. And then under the expenses, there's not a whole lot in this portion until, we'll get to the police. But everything in there is pretty much a normal type of expenses. And then the next page is the general fund for the police department. All expenses come out of the general fund for the police, and they make up 60%. The police budget makes up 60% of the general fund. The one thing I wanted to point out is, as you can see, there was an increase in overtime from 2016 to 2017. And the reason being, and I gotta say, the chief has kept overtime the last 3-4 years at a very, very good figure, is around 40,000. But last year, with all the increased training that was state mandated, that he had to put his officers and dispatchers through, it created, where he had to fill positions, and to do that, he had to use overtime. If you have any questions, I'm sure the chief can explain a little better than I can. But, so this year, again, the overtime might be around the same, and the fact that he still has more training they have to go through. And, that's something we have to do. Again, the expenses for the general fund are pretty normal, and as you can see, the professional fees, which is that includes training, increased by $10,000 last year. Again, that was because of all the state mandated training. So I have about a similar amount in there for this year, since he still has more training to do. The other thing is the increase of $60,000 for the K-9 operating expenses. What we did was, you know, they're hoping to get $60,000 in for revenue to fund the K-9 expense, the operating expenses, and so we just put that in the budget as the same amount. We have a separate line item that will keep track of any kind of K-9 expenses that we incur. We haven't incurred any yet, but when we do, we'll have a separate line item that we can always go back to and pull any kind of information that anybody wants to know about that. Again, there's money in there for a vehicle. The chief usually, he rotates out his cruisers, and there's some money in there for grant expenditures. We haven't got any grants the last couple of years, but sometimes it's a matching, you have to match it, so we put money in there in case he does get a grant. Okay, that's the general fund. Next fund, street. The street brings in their revenue from the motor vehicle registration fees and gasoline tax revenues is where the money comes, the majority of the money comes for the street fund. And again, the majority of it going out is for wages and benefits. They spend very little in other non-personnel wage expenses. Last year we had some money in there for paving. I do not have any money in there this year for paving. We're going to try to keep that fund kind of right about where it is. Okay, next one, State Highway Improvement Fund. This money also comes from vehicle license and gasoline revenue, and we use this money to purchase road salt. And we've been, the last year we were pretty good, and we were pretty good into the beginning of the year until January hit, and so we've spent some of that money already to purchase salt. Next one is cemetery. Too many papers. Cemetery, you can see the revenues up top, sale of graves and interments. We also transfer money into the cemetery from the general fund each year. Again, you have the wages and benefits, and again, the majority of that fund is for the wages. You can see there's very low expenses that we incur in the cemetery. There is a project in the cemetery that we're doing this year where it's been ongoing, but we put more money in there, and I'll get to that in a minute or two here, because that's going to be coming out of a different fund. Park fund. The park fund can be up and down. You can see in 2016 they had a good year, and a lot of that depends on the weather. You have a good summer, you have a hot, dry summer, you have a good pool season. You have a wet, rainy one, you don't. And that's kind of what happened in 2017. As you can see, that fund decreased. We get a lot of revenues from the sale of pool tickets, season passes, concessions, pavilion rentals, and some, we also get some donations, and we transfer money in there from the general fund. Now, one thing I do want to point out, under donations, it shows 20,000. Well, 15,000 of that is coming from the R&B committee, along with the 15,000 plus the ODNR grant of the 9,539. That money will go towards the to do Pavilion 3 to get it up to ADA standards. Right, Terry, that was Pavilion 3, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that money is basically going to fund from the donation and the grant. That'll fund the whole project, and you can see that down below under the expenses where I have Pavilion 3, ADA, and playground improvement, $25,000. Other than that, he wants to do some building repairs. We need an exhaust fan in the garage, and the other thing was, I think there was some, let's see, I got too many papers here. I know there was a few other things he wanted to do around the new park building, the maintenance building. Everything else there is, pretty normal. Again, it all depends on the weather a lot for the park. Next couple ones, we'll get through these pretty quick. The next one is the Firestone Park Band Festival, or music that they do each, Sunday. We get donations in, and I believe they already got a donation from the Community Foundation. And, that goes to pay for some, advertising for any local expenses, and we also pay the band. Some of the bands, people sponsor, certain companies sponsor different bands, but then some of them, we have to actually pay for the bands. So that money usually, it's what we get in is usually what we spend. Firestone Park Festival Fund, we no longer have that, and we no longer sponsor it. There is a little bit of money left in the fund. Same with the Law Enforcement Trust Fund. There's a little bit of money left in there. This money comes from the county, from items that are confiscated, and with our police assistance. And you can see in 16 we didn't get anything. In 17 we got $1,200. So the chief used that money for training and some equipment purchases. This year I don't have anything projected, in the fact that we don't know if we'll really get anything. If we do, we'll adjust it later in the year. The next fund is the Motor Vehicle License Fund, and this money comes from state license tax revenues, and we usually use, whatever we get in, we usually use that for paving. And this year you can see we have $47,000 in there, and when we get to the capital fund, I have $153,000 in the capital fund for paving, so that gives Jesse a budget of about $200,000 to do paving. Don't ask me which roads he's doing, I don't know. I just tell him how much he can spend. Enforcement Education Fund, again, we get some revenue in from DUIs, and the chief uses this for community education and related law enforcement expenses. EMS, alright, we've got to our first big one, other than the general fund. The EMS is funded through a levy, and the current levy was passed in November of 2017, and that will run through 2023. And we get roughly $279,000 in from that levy. We also get money in from for billing for runs that EMS goes on. If there's insurance they can bill, they can, this would be non-Columbiana residents, because I want to point out, if you're a Columbiana resident, you do not pay for the ambulance service. Now, Tom said they sometimes bill the insurance company.
We bill the insurance company, but they don't see any out-of-pocket expenses.
Yeah, if the insurance doesn't cover everything, then it's written off for residents. Again, you have your wages. Tom doesn't have too much in his budget this year. Again, we talked about it last meeting about the increase in operating supplies because of some current issues that are going on statewide, countywide, worldwide. He is looking to buy some computers for his office and some laptops. Let's see. Also the monitor brackets. He wants to purchase monitor brackets for those cardiac monitors we bought, so that they'll be mounted in the ambulance. Other than that, you do see we do have a debt retirement that's on one of the ambulances, and this is our next to last payment. Next year will be the last payment on that ambulance, and so I have to start looking to buy a new one soon. The escrow fund, what that is there was the 714 water assessment running off Rock 14 that goes past 40 and 8. Well, we own that land, a portion of that land, and there is assessments that we get charged real estate taxes, and that's what that expense is real estate taxes that we pay on that property. You can't, property, if it's used for governmental purposes, can be exempt, but this time, that property is not being used for any kind of governmental reason, so we can't be exempt, that's why that money, though, you can see that there was a balance in there, and when that happened, that money was put in there to cover the assessments down the road. Capital improvements fund. Okay. You can see, if you look at the projected revenues, the biggest project we have in there, of course, this year is the 7 and 14 intersection at $2,375,000. Is what is the projected revenue coming from grants. And down below, you can see the expense of $2,065,000. Now, that being was because last year we already had to put down money, basically had to put a down deposit to ODOT. We had to put in an escrow fund, and I think you guys probably remember that. So whenever the bid was put out, then ODOT requested that money, and that money has been paid to ODOT, but we did that last year. So part of that expense is what we already expensed from last year. The other thing is the State Route 14 water line. We're still finishing that up. I know it's like 96% complete. They have a little bit of work left, I think. But what happened was a lot of that money rolled over into 2018 that we're still getting that we got in 18 in January and February that we had to pay the contractor with. So that needs to be put in the budget. The other thing is the Fairfield Avenue sidewalk project, and that's the money that we were granted, $335,000. The bid came in a little lower than that, but we're going to still show that money as what we should be getting in for the grant money. Now the expenses, a lot of things we do with that money out of capital projects. Under the equipment purchase and repairs, we have a dump truck in there of $130,000. You see the total was $275,000. So what that leaves is pretty much normal expenses as far as buying different equipment and repairs on our equipment. We usually put money in there for computers. We got to keep upgrading on the computers. Buildings and other structures. Again, it's just that one's kind of routine. Miscellaneous projects. That goes to a lot of different projects you probably don't see, not big items, but things that Jesse and the guys do around town. Street and storm sewer. Now this is where we got under that line item, the $550,000. What that consists of is $153,000 for paving, $300,000 for stormwater, and then the other $100,000 is about normal expenses that we usually do throughout the year. So when we were talking about having that stormwater session, at this point there's $300,000 in the budget come out of capital. We have another $50,000 set aside in the sewer fund, which we'll get to. So really there's a total of $350,000 set aside for the storm sewer projects for this year. Engineering, that's usually, we got to pay engineering on all the projects we do. State Route 14 water line, there's a little bit of expenses left that we'll have to pay this year. And then, of course, there's the 7 and 14, which I already mentioned, and the Fairfield Avenue sidewalk project. And the South Main Street, that's the loan that we pay for South Main Street. So the other thing I want to point out in the capital fund, if you look at the balance where we were at the end of the year and where we're projected to be at the end of 2018, I'm really going to keep an eye on this fund because next year, in 2019, is when ODOT's going to be doing that paving project. to all the state routes throughout the city. And our portion is gonna be, over $300,000. It's gonna be probably close to $340,000 that city will have to pay for that paving. So that money will come out of this fund next year, 2019. So I really gotta keep an eye on where our balance is at getting there at the end of the year.
I have one question, and it looks like it's been in there the last couple of years, I never noticed it, or maybe I didn't, I can't remember, but it shows, employee health insurance payments budgeted out of capital improvements. Why do we do that?
Well, some of our wages, some of Jesse's wages, and I believe some of, Kurt Seacrest, who's the foreman, when they work on a project and that money's coming out of that capital fund, we also allocate those wages to the capital projects, for those projects. So the benefits follow along with the wages. So, like, we'll pay the health insurance out of part of the, like, part of their health insurance will come out of that fund, but then at the same time, they're paying the 15%. That 15% is going back into.
And that's what that is.
Yes, that 15% is going back into that fund. I think that's it for capital. I know there's a lot in there, and we have a lot going on this year.
Hey, Mike, could you recap again about that state paving project and the cost, on the state routes? And is it 2019 that's gonna happen?
That's gonna happen in 2019, and that's gonna be every state route going through the city that will be paved by ODOT. And that's starting with, coming from the west, coming in 164, up to the circle, around the circle, down South Main Street, all the way to 14, and then they're gonna pave 14 east and west,
And Route 7.
to the
North and south.
and Route 7, to, the whatever's in the city.
And what is our share of that cost?
Our share is gonna be about
About $300,000.
yeah.
And it's a $1.7 million project. That's the, kind of the project that we announced last year. And that's everything Columbiana County, nothing in Mahoning, which we've already done those in the last several years.
That work will be done in the year 2019.
Correct, it's not even gonna be put out to bid until 2019. We had a couple of discussions with.
It'll be in the fall of 19, probably, late summer or fall.
Thank you.
Mike, I've got a question. Circle Avenue sidewalk project, you said that came in under the 335.3.
Right.
Why wouldn't you fund that to the bid rather than fund the whole thing?
I can
Stick that into
I can
the.
answer
I
that.
was gonna say, Lance, probably used to that.
If you don't spend those grant funds on that particular project, they go back into wherever you got them. And we were awarded that from the TAP, that's Transportation Alternative Project from ODOT. So typically what we wanna do is we wanna spend all that grant money. So we are going to propose some, additions, more sidewalk to make up that difference. Because if we only spend what it came in as, we're gonna lose that $84,000. And, we found some other projects that make sense, it has to make sense, that we will propose to them, as it goes through a little bit more, a little bit further. We'll work with engineers and, we'll have to sell it to them and hopefully it works out.
Thank you.
Yeah, basically, Skip, that was what the grant was awarded for, and then when they put out the bid came in lower, so what I have in the budget basically is an in and out. This is what we're gonna get for revenue, and this is what we're gonna spend. Now, we may not get that much, and we may not spend that much, it depends on how it goes with the other project that we're explaining. All right, the next one was the cemetery improvement fund, and this was money that was in there from a prior levy. I'm sorry, no, this is not that fund. This fund is, the revenues are derived, 10% of cemetery lot sales go into this fund. And it's for any kind of cemetery improvements. You can see the last 2 years, that's where we spent the money to pave the cemetery. most of it. I think you still have some more you wanna do, right?
We do.
Yeah. But then this year, we have that 15,000 in there under building and structures is for the old chapel that we're renovating. It was to be done like in 2 sections, and we did spend, some money last year. And this year, we're taking that 15,000 out of the cemetery improvement fund to hopefully finish the job on the old chapel renovation.
Mike, has there been any thinking about, an addition for the restrooms on the new chapel?
I think I'm gonna let Terry address that.
It was on the initial budget, and we had to bump it for other reasons. Other stuff was a little more pressing.
We did have discussion on it, but, you know, at this time, not put it on hold. The next fund, the capital improvement land purchase, this is for the industrial park. This money was derived from when they sold the land, for the industrial park, and it's for any kind of industrial, or any kind of improvements to the industrial park. As you can see, we haven't spent any money out there in recent years. Pool renovations, again, this one was from the prior levy, and there's a little bit of money left. We did, spend some money last year, $4,125. That was to, some ventilation. I believe we fixed in the basement of the pool for, reasons because of, the chemicals and that are down there. But there's nothing in the budget for this year. All right, fire levy. You're up, chief. Okay, again, there is a fire levy, that we have, the last one was renewed in 2014, and that'll run through 2020. So again, that generates about $279,000 a year. That comes from real estate taxes, and we also get money from the Fairfield Township contract. I know that's coming up, I believe next month. I just put a very slight increase in there from last year. We've had the discussion with Rick. He's not at this point exactly sure. We're gonna keep it the same or what he's gonna do with that. We're kind of looking to see, what the last couple what the fire runs are gonna be through March. Now also, you see in there a loan for the Southside Station. That's one of the changes I did make from that preliminary budget I gave you. I had $400,000 in there, and we bumped that up to $450,000, and I'll explain that down below. But right now, you know, the cost of the fire station is going to cost about $900,000 with the bid to build it, to install a sewer line, to install a gas line. So we have about half of that money that we can use, pay cash basically, out of this fund for that building, which leaves somewhere around $450,000 that we would need to finance. We're looking at options. I thought I had a good option today. I got an email. It's called a OMAP or something that was through the state treasurer's office, where they loan money to municipalities. But when I looked more into it, it's for a short-term loan. It's only for like a loan of a year or less, and that would really be pressing. That would be pressing this fund to try and pay that off in a year. So we were looking at probably paying it off in 2 years. So we're still looking at other options of financing. We tried going through AMP Ohio, who will loan us money for electric projects, but they said no to a fire station. So sorry, we tried. So again, yeah, that money, we're still looking at what financing options we have out there. Again, there's the wages, and this can vary depending on his runs. Depending on what kind of how many runs they go on is how these guys get paid. Now, under the expenses, and this is where, I bumped up the, vehicles from the preliminary one, and that's where the extra 50,000 came in. Bumped that up from 70,000 to 120,000, because, I knew Rick wanted to, he was looking for a small, truck, like a grass truck. I keep calling it a grass truck, he calls it something else. But, here he wanted two, and not one. So I don't know, if you wanna explain that, or?
What we're looking at is, we're looking to get a small, rescue truck that we can use to, carry a lot of our rescue equipment, so we don't have to run two Class A pumpers to every accident we go to. Having those big trucks there takes up quite a bit of space out there. And we're also looking to get a utility truck, something, that would come in real handy the other night when I had an engine sticking halfway out on Route 7 for 3 hours because it was too big to get off the road and block the street there. We're looking for something small that we can use for that, something to bring back our hose and our equipment after fires. Right now, we're currently using our personal vehicles. My truck was blocking the right of way the other night again, my truck. We need something that is, got a light bar on it and some lighting that we can actually use, at those scenes. So that's what we're looking to do. That's been in the budget the last few years, but quite honestly, we've had no place to put this stuff, so why buy it if we don't have any place to put it? So that's what we're looking to do with that.
Yeah, also, if you look under building improvements, which we did very little the last couple of years, at $15,000 in there, Rick was looking at putting some type of new furnace or a new heating and air conditioning unit over in the current fire station, not the new one that would go for the current fire station. Also under equipment, he was, when the fire station gets built, he's gonna need some money to buy some equipment out there, some furniture and some other stuff that he's gonna need to furnish it. And then the only other thing is the building and structures. You see the $900,000 in there for the new building, but and everything else is pretty normal. Okay, next couple might go pretty quick here. Firestone Park Renovations and Improvement Fund. This was from a prior levy also. We had some money in there. Last 2 years, we spent $19.50 each year. That was to fix the dugouts at the ballpark, the baseball field. We did the home side in 16, did the away side in 17. Now this year, we're looking at spending $3,500 out of there to seal the walking trail over in the park. So that money will be coming out of the renovations fund. Tax increment financing fund, we have, that's our TIF that we have, which, it used to be Bolero and now it's Sunoco and Columbiana Dodge. There was TIFs put on when those properties were developed, and the real estate money goes into that fund. It's to be used for any kind of, major construction for those properties. At this point, there obviously hasn't been any, they're still fairly new. But we do, the only expense we really have is, county auditor and treasurer's fees on the real estate taxes. Okay, the three big ones here, and then it's all downhill. Okay, the water fund. There's a lot going on this year in the water fund. Okay, you know, the revenue here is derived from the sale of water, and water taps. We also have that $11 fee that shows under the new water plant fee. The health insurance premium, that's the employee payments that they pay towards their health insurance. Now, if you look at last year, now for the water plant, that $11,224,000, that's what, this is the money that we received last year through the USDA. That is the full amount of the loan. That's what the loan was for, and so that money, we have gotten all that money in last year. Now everything that, the money that's coming in this year and some last year is the grant portion. So obviously we still have the water plant to finish up. should hopefully be done next couple months. We also got an OPWC interest assistance grant, and this is to pay part of the interest while we're paying on the loan during construction. Because if you look down below, we already made our first payment on that water plant last year. And that was based on, and that's under where you see transfers down at the bottom where it says transfers to WTP bond retirement. Okay, that's the amount that we paid last year on the loan. Now that was a smaller amount than normal because that was only based on the amount of money that they had given us at that time. When I say they, USDA had given us at that time, so it wasn't based on the whole, $18 million that we were going to get. So, I'll get back to the expenses. So this year, you can see what the grant money, the rest of the grant money remaining is a little over $6 million. And again, that interest assistance grant to help us with the interest. You have your wages. Under the expenses, Johnny has some big things he wants to do this year. Under the vehicle repairs and purchase, you see $110,000. See, last year, $119,000. When he bought a dump truck, we bought a dump truck last year. This year, he was looking at getting a back excavator, which has cost approximately $70,000. That's under that amount. Under the equipment, there's a few things. He needs a couple wells that he needs to fix. There was also water meters, meter replacements. We try to replace meters all the time, every year. There was a well pump, 2 well pumps that he needs to fix. And the other one was the, that was another well repair, number 8, Whitman. That was for, he wanted to change out the pumps on that well there. And then the other big item is the water tower. See, I have water tower waxing and repainting of $300,000 in there. That we've been trying to do for quite a few years, and we just haven't had the money or the time with the water plant. But I believe the issue, you can help me out here, Lance, the EPA doesn't like the wax. There's wax that coats the inside of that water tower, and the EPA doesn't like that. So they want us to get rid of it basically, and then at the same time, repaint it. It's not anything that was mandated. It's just that don't get me wrong, it wasn't mandated. It was just something that a suggestion that we should change. So that's what he's looking at doing this year.
Yeah, and the timing of it is really, I mean, we've been trying to do it for many years, but now it just makes sense until the water plant's done, because now we can produce a bunch of water and fill it back up if we have to. Or so we're gonna, that tank will be down. That's the one right up there by the water treatment plant. That'll be down for a couple months. So they're gonna drain that, and we'll only be running on one. That's the one that we dove last February. They put a remote control robot in there, and it swam around in there, took all kinds of pictures and stuff. And that was inspecting that wax that he was talking about. So you drain the tank, you get the wax out of there, and then you put this new coating on there that's EPA approved.
Where the wax come from?
It is a farmer's company that puts 4 inches of it in there between the metal and the water. I don't know how they apply it, but they have to empty it. There's only a couple of companies that even re-wax water towers anymore. We've been trying to, we try to get them here in 13, 14, and 15, and they're just too busy in other areas to make it here.
So now we want to take it out.
Yes, want to take it out and put something that's EPA approved.
we send a thank you note.
Yes.
We're so busy, we couldn't do it.
Yes.
Do we have one or two tanks like that?
So we only have one tank like that right now, if I'm not mistaken. I think the elevated one is not, but I have to check it out.
Okay, moving on there, the new water plant, obviously, we're still working on that, so there's the rest of the money is appropriated for the water plant. Now, I want to mention these next two things. The new generator for the water plant, you can see last year, it says we only spent $12,622 and nothing for this year. Well, we are gonna spend money this year, it's just that the money was appropriated last year, the purchase order was carried over to this year. So when we have to pay that bill gets charged to the last year's PO, so it doesn't go against this year's appropriations. And that's the exact same thing with, well, to relocate the water line, that was for the ODOT escrow that we put aside, for the 714 project, and they're gonna have to move a water line out there, and that's what we allocated that amount out of the water department to move that water line, even though it's for the 714 intersection, they have to move that. Also, we did put 2 new wells in,